welcome to West Country Wanderings and welcome to another one in my canal series. We're near the village of Nunton Bridge in the northern parts of Worcestershire, but later on the video we'll be crossing over into Herefordshire. We're looking for signs of a canal, the Leominster Canal, see what remains of it. Remember last time we were looking for a tunnel, perhaps 2 tunnels, maybe even 3. Wonder if there was a sign again around here, that there be some indication that there was a former canal in this area. I don't know, just a little sign saying tunnel, maybe. Tunnel. In actual fact, this depression in the land you see here, just outside the village, just to the north of the village, was the line of the canal. So our canal, our Leominster Canal, was here, following this track which leads to Oxtall's farm, and that's where we're going to be heading to see what we can, maybe, of a canal tunnel portal. So the line of our Leominster Canal carried on around this way. You can just see it going on around there. So so we're following. It's great to actually following the line. Of course, there is no water in it at this section, but we are promised, according to my research notes, sections that do have water in it when we come across other sections with tunnels here on the Leominster Canal. Just to refresh, this was originally planned to connect the River Severn at Stourport-on-Severn to the Herefordshire town of Leominster, but unfortunately it never achieved that. There was a huge tunnel which was going to be planned to the east of here, should I say, but it was never built. It was far too ambitious. One of the curious things about this canal, there was a canal guidebook written towards the very end of the 18th century. Yes, they had canal guidebooks all the way back then, and it talked about a flight of locks leading to the River Severn at Stourport-on-Severn, but they were actually never built. It never made it that far. The canal actually continued further on down, and it finished just short and just north of the town of Leominster, where there is a small wharf. And I've been promised a building there too, so we can see if what remains of that building. Now, to reduce costs, the canal hugged the contours of the land, like they all do, but some use more locks than others, so there weren't any locks on this section. And there was a small hill, I'm not sure the name of the hill, which meant that there needed to be a tunnel here at Nunton that the canal had to dive into to get to the other side of it, making its way, well, further around to where we saw at the start of video number 1 here on the Leominster Canal. If you've not seen that video, it's worth watching that one first. It was also very different conditions. I filmed that one a couple of months ago. We're now in September, I think it was July, maybe end of June that I filmed that one a couple of months ago. And very, very different conditions. It was quite a warm, sunny, sticky day, but today I'm afraid we've got light drizzle. So there's our canal. You can clearly see the line delineated there, very, very clear. Now used for sheep grazing, so they keep the grass down, which is great, so it gives you good visibility of where the line of the Leominster Canal was here in Worcestershire. And there you can see our hill. And so it must be just over there that the tunnel entrance must be, because obviously you've got a hill. The canal didn't go up the hill, of course. Water hose has to be level in the canal, so the portal must be somewhere around there. Let's go and have a closer look. So I'm now standing in the bed of the canal, and there is our hill. But from this viewpoint here, I can't actually see the portal. It is buried under a little bit of infill, of course, because it's an agricultural land and a bit of overgrowth. But I think I can see the top part of the portal of the tunnel with some brickwork. Now from this angle you can see where the canal was coming up across the land here, following the contour, and you have this hill over here, and yes, so the canal needs to go under to get around the hill, and there is the portal. That's better, isn't it? That's the portal of our tunnel here, just outside the village of Nunton Bridge in the northern part of Worcestershire. You can certainly make out clearly the brickwork there. It looks like pretty good condition. Has been a little bit of an infilling here. They've put some rock and rubble there to kind of support it so it doesn't all kind of slide in as you stand on the former canal bed here. And they've just put in like a little triangular fence to stop people entering the tunnel. I would imagine it. I certainly wouldn't want to go in there. It'd be just a drop down because of the infill. There is a bit of a drop towards the canal bed inside the tunnel itself. Just have a quick look though. So that's our entrance here at Nunton Bridge in northern part of Worcestershire, as I say. We're following the line, the route of the canal. We're increasing in gradient. Sorry, it's gone a little bit dark. Hopefully, there it goes. Hopefully it's increasing now. We're following the line of the tunnel. I don't think the other portal, the other end of the tunnel, it's only a short tunnel. I'll put in the exact length of this tunnel here at Nunton in the usual way below, is visible. But we're going to continue on though, because a bit further on from here is an aqueduct. Yes, you're probably thinking, well, you already showed us one aqueduct in the last one. Yes, I did. But there is another one called the Rhea aqueduct. We'll see if we can make out anything of that. Well, while I'm walking towards Rhea aqueduct, and see, and I can't promise if I can get there because the paths are really tricky, because you used to be able to walk across Rhea aqueduct, but they closed the footpath off because they deemed the aqueduct to be dangerous. So I'm making this diversionary route around north of the village from the tunnel entrance there, and I think our tunnel portal, the other end of it, would be somewhere down there, but it's very, very overgrown with bramble. I did make a tentative try, but a farmer, or tractor should I say, farmer on a tractor, has driven down there, and the track is extremely slippery, full of banks of high wet clay you get in this part of the world, reddish Herefordshire and Worcestershire clay, which means it's impossible to walk on. So I'm following this route here. While I'm doing that, just tell you a little bit more about the canal. To recap from last time, it was originally planned to link Starrowport in Worcestershire, which we've covered of course on the Severn Way. Important canal joins in there heading north into Staffordshire, and it was going to link that port, inland port there, to the village, or town should I say, of Kington in Herefordshire, some 46 miles. However, it was a commercial disaster and it never got to either of those places. Now, the route was surveyed in 1789 by one Thomas Dadford Jr. His father was a famous canal engineer as well. He assigned to his son, I believe, to survey the land here in Worcestershire, Herefordshire, and a little bit of Shropshire, which we saw last time when we saw the Team aqueduct. Do you remember the visitors book? Yeah. So that was that one there. And the route originally was going to head out of Starrowport on the Severn and go under a very long 3/4 mile tunnel called Pensacks Tunnel. However, construction on that never began. There was another tunnel, not this one here, or another one which we may see later on, but one called Southmet Tunnel, and that was constructed. However, legend has it, the during construction, or during finishing off of construction, part of the canal collapsed, and possibly at least 4 lives were lost there. The portal, the northern part of the Southmet Tunnel, was very close to where I started video number 1 here on the Leominster Canal, but you can no longer see it, and it's just been buried under rubble and all kinds of other things. But I've been told that the southern portion of the Southmet Tunnel is visible, and if I've got time, see if we can have a look at that later on the video today. Our canal would have come out the other portal. You saw the first portal, but as I say, I can't get access to the second one. Would have come out hugging the contours of the line, as you can see. So I've climbed up quite steeply. See if I can cross it. But the line of the canal there is near, I think that's an oak tree. See the tree, the large tree, pretty much in the centre of your screen now. And that is right on the edge of the former canal bed of our Leominster Canal. So it's coming out of the wood there, the line of the wood to the right of the screen, and then going on in a direction towards the left of the screen to that smaller tree or shrub on the left there, edging the field you can see, which has been ploughed in a reddish tinge to it. Now, this is nothing to do with canals, just an observation. Does anybody know what that ladder and like little lookout platform propped up against that tree there, why would that need to be there? Is it for the farmer to look out across his sheep, I wonder? Drop a comment the usual way below. Now, I've just seen this sign on the gate here. It says that the footpath has been closed due to the collapsed aqueduct, which is of course the aqueduct we've come to look at. I've got no intention of walking on the aqueduct. I'm just going to see, because the footpath is still open here, if we can go on a little bit further to the old railway line. We'll talk a bit about that, and I may not be able to get any further though. Now this isn't the route of the canal, this is the route of the former railway line that went from Bewdley to Tenbury Wells. And if you remember last time, Tenbury Wells station was actually just outside in the little village of Burford, the side of the River Teme in Shropshire. But that's looking back down towards the Bewdley direction. And yes, it's looking very, very overgrown in that direction. And that's heading towards Tenbury. Our footpath continues up here. It's still passable at this stage, and it's still got the Worcestershire public footpath marking, so we're all good. And we've got some original railway fencing here as well, complete with the original straining wire, not the bit underneath, not the chicken wire, but the bit on the top, and a gate. Here's the gate that we're going to be heading through now. Again, apologise for the grainy footage, it's a very overcast day, and we're in a deep, dark wood. Now, while I've got the railway posts behind me, I'll just tell you a little bit more about the history of the Leominster Canal. In 1791, an Act of Parliament was passed to get the canal built and underway. And in 1793, they'd made fantastic progress because it had been built from Tenbury Wells down to Wooferton, which is kind of A49, where the big tall transmitters are, that direction. They made huge progress, including, I believe, the Teme aqueduct, which we saw in the last video. So this begs the question, if that's the canal bed up there and the canal bed up there, why is there no aqueduct carrying the railway, or rather the canal, over the railway? Because this is our railway, as I pointed out. And the reason for that is that because the canal ran into financial difficulties, the railway company of the Bewdley to Tenbury, which then goes on to the Welsh Marches line between Hereford and Shrewsbury, bought it. So they bought the land formerly owned by the canal company, including some of the canal bed itself. And here, of course, when they built the railway, they just simply sliced through the canal bed and put the railway into a cutting so they could get it across to Tenbury Wells. Now, this isn't the railway track bed you're looking at, but the canal track bed just before it heads onto the aqueduct. We've just seen a couple of footpath closure signs here. I've got no intention whatsoever to try and walk on the aqueduct because it is in a dangerous state, but we'll see if we can get to the edge of the river. And here is what remains of the amazing structure of the rare, I think that's how you pronounce it, aqueduct, which goes over the River Aire, which is of course a tributary of the River Teme. But that's just, wow, that's fantastic. That was worth the scrabble through some of those footpaths. Now from this angle here, scrabbled down below the height of the canal bed, you can see exactly why the footpath across that aqueduct has been closed. There is an enormous, great big crack above the arch of the aqueduct. Now, I can't describe the feeling of seeing this aqueduct in the flesh. I've seen it on the internet, and like the other one that we saw in the previous video on Looking for a Lost Canal here on West Country Wanderings, which has got a dropped arch, which was bombed. I think it was after the Second World War's bombing practice, sadly, but this arch at the moment is still intact. But sadly, for how much longer remains to be seen. I would guess that Worcestershire County Council, and there is a kind of embryonic and very small canal trust looking after the Leominster Canal, there just isn't going to be the funds to get this wonderful aqueduct here in the northern part of Worcestershire repaired. So how much longer that's going to remain upright remains to be seen, but I'm just glad I've been able to capture it as photographs and video here today, because I may not be able to see it again in this present state. But it's just wonderful. I'm so glad that I made the effort, scrabbling through the bramble and the mudslides to get to this location here. It's just absolutely terrific. through the undergrowth there, you might be able to make out a fence which is hanging in mid-air, and you can see that the other side of the arch has collapsed completely. That there, just peeking my lens through the fence here, is the original footpath, and there is another fence preventing access further on. But yeah, sadly that side of the aqueduct has already disappeared, and that down there is the canal bed itself. Okay, so while I've got the canal bed here, down here on my right, I'm just going to put my camera away now because it's still drizzling, getting a bit wet. I'll walk back to my car, and then we're going to go on to another location here on the former Leominster Canal. There's lots more to see. Well, I've now come round off the road heading towards Kidderminster, just turned off that, heads to Friendly Common, something like that. I'll drop the name in below. I've just turned off that. We're now on a public footpath, although it looks like we're in somebody's private garden here. And I've been, well, from the research that I've found, there should be the southern portal of the South Met Tunnel. Remember, that's the one that was never actually used, but it was built completely, though there is a collapse in it about halfway through it. But I don't know whether we're going to be able to find it. We'll have a look around here anyway, see what we come up with. Rain is coming down rather heavy, but I haven't found the portals yet. It's notoriously difficult to find the southern portal of South Met Tunnel. I'm just looking here on the ground. There's lots of bricks around here, and I don't know if anything that was to do with the canal's construction at all. And there's this, which is, well, very curious indeed. This construction here, that is very odd. The top part of it is newer because it's got concrete on it, but was that where there was a collapse of the tunnel and it's been partially infilled? I'll just show you what's behind it here, because I can't see any other reason why that concrete would be there. So that's looking back into a wood there. I think the line of our canal tunnel goes underneath there. And again, I'll stick the map up so you can see exactly where I am. And you'll see what I mean. I'm just going to move back. Sorry for the shaky footage with it on this rainy day here. So yeah, we've got a concrete slab there. You have a water butt there for the sheep, of course, and that goes into that field there, which there's no right of way across there. But I'm just wondering why this concrete bit's been poured in here, and you have all these bricks around here. I wouldn't mind betting this is something to do with our canal tunnel's construction. They carry on, they go all the way down there. Definitely sign of earth movement some time ago here in the bank of that ditch. Well, I'm afraid I've drawn a bit of a blank. I don't like giving up. As you can see, the weather has turned for the worse. I've had to keep my camera underneath my waterproof jacket. There is a stream here, and my thinking was, and there's two lakes. You saw the first one where I was trying to get over that footbridge. But the footbridge, by the way, was impassable because it's partially damaged, but also because the weather is wet. You've got that green algae, and it's got a curve on it like that, and no steps. So you start to hold on to the handrail, right, and you just start sliding that way. So yeah, and I don't think that the tunnel is in that direction. It's more centred on the track which comes out of the side road off the Kidderminster Road near the farm. I know it's in that area from two or three forums that I've read, and it's near the lake, the portal where it came out, although as I say it wasn't actually used. This is the line of the stream, and of course the canal would have been planned to follow the stream, to follow the contour of the land, so it would have come along here somewhere. South Met Farm is immediately above this direction in a straight line, of course, because the canal tunnel was built with no bend in it, this particular one, and the northern portal is at South Met Farm, which is where I started video number 1 here on the Leominster Canal. But unfortunately, I'm afraid I don't have a canal portal for you. I know it's around here somewhere. If you have found it, then you've done really, really well. I've spent a good hour and a half wandering around, sliding in the mud, trying to find this portal, but unfortunately, it's a no-go. And if that tunnel portal is in there, someone may find it at some point someday, because this is the end of the line as far as I'm concerned. There is a gate here, it's not a right of way, and even if it was or wasn't, I'm not going to be going through that, all that dense bramble there to try and find the canal portal. But It may or may not be somewhere around there, but it is definitely in this location. On a positive note, I've got a beautiful apple orchard here, and it is because we're in September. This is an apple orchard growing season. This probably will go out in October, to be fair, because I've got a trip to go down to South Devon to do, and doing quite a few videos from in and around the Brixham area, including a railway series, one looking at the Lost Railway walks along the old Brixham branch, so that'll be arriving first. But yeah, it's wonderful fruit trees here in September. That's great to see. I'm going to head back to my car now, put my camera away before it gets any wetter, and then we're going to have a look for another tunnel. This one hopefully is a lot easier to find, and that's just north of the town of Leominster, and hopefully there should be a canal wharf there, which is where the canal terminated about a mile, well, half a mile should I say, north of the town of Leominster. Well, thankfully the rain stopped. I've now crossed over the border. I think I'm in Herefordshire. I say that because the borders here between Worcestershire, Herefordshire and Shropshire, I mentioned this before, they all converge in and around this area. Anyway, I'm about a couple of miles north of the town of Leominster, I do know that, which definitely lies in Herefordshire. And just behind me there are some aerials, and that are the aerials at Wolverhampton, which used to transmit shortwave for BBC World Service. I don't think it does. I'm pretty certain it doesn't. I don't know what the aerials are currently used for. I don't know whether it's to do with maritime. It seems a strange place to have it maritime, I know, but it is what it is there. But the other thing we've got here is behind me here. Let's go and have a look. This is it's a foot crossing, nothing to do with canals. There's a foot crossing over the Welsh Marches line, which goes between Hereford and Shrewsbury, of course, which goes right up into. So any trains that are going between the Welsh capital Cardiff and North Wales go at this line. Of course, we're in England, so yeah, that's because there is no other direct route for trains between North and South Wales. But yeah, so there's a foot crossing here which is still in use. So I am on sticking to the footpaths here. But the reason I'm here is I'm looking for the northern portal. That's right, yes, the northern portal of Putnam Tunnel of the Leominster Canal, which is hereabouts, and we're going to have a look at that shortly. But yeah, so it's got a gate opening here. I don't think it's used that often. There we go. Foot crossing here. There it is there. So the farmer can open this gate if he needs to cross the Welsh Marches line here. It's a high-speed line here, so it says oncoming trains can be hidden by other trains. So yeah, like it says, if there's two trains passing, you have to be very careful. But we're not going across the railway tracks here, definitely not. Our canal tunnel, our Leominster Canal, let's say we're only just a couple of miles south of the town of Leominster now, lies in this wood. Yes, down there, usual sort of situation, is it? So let's go and have a look. So this behind me here is Putnam Tunnel. If only Southmead Tunnel was so easily to find there. This is the northern portal of it. It goes to cross the road. There is a lane. It's actually called Tunnel Lane. That's where I parked my car, near to where the road bridge goes over the Welsh Marches line. So yeah, that's our tunnel here. So just see if I can get a closer shot inside. It does look, the portal is in reasonable condition, the portal there, although here there's lots of bricks missing on that side. I think there is a collapse about halfway through. I have got no intention of walking under there because it's completely underwater, and the ground where I'm standing is quite boggy as well. So the tunnel was built around 1795. It's known as Putnam Short Field Tunnel because we've got fields hereabouts, and it isn't that long. I'll put if I can find the length of it in below. The other portal is very, very similar to this one, but of course it's not on a right of way, so its access to that one is a little bit difficult. There were lots of problems with construction in it, and shortly after this tunnel was completed, although not open to navigation at that point, there was a major accident at South Met Tunnel, which is the one we were looking for earlier on in the video. The canal authorities and the owners then brought in a surveyor, and he surveyed all of the aqueducts and all of the tunnels along the Leominster Canal and declared all of them unsafe. After the Putnam field tunnel was completed, money ran out because they had to build another aqueduct, and that was to carry the canal over the River Lug just north of Leominster. I don't think anything of that one currently remains, however. So there was another Act of Parliament to raise more funds. However, once this tunnel here was open, coal was able to flow between Mamble, which is where we started video 1 here, and 1 mile north of Leominster, where there is a wharf house, and that is where we're going to go to next. I do apologise, this is a very noisy location here. I'm 1 mile north of the town of Leominster, and this was the end of the line as far as the Leominster Canal was concerned, making its way from Mamble, where we started video 1 here on the Looking for the Lost Canal series. And the canal's route came along here. Now it's like a stream, water flowing through it. But this would have been the canal, and the wharf was around here, just the other side of the A49. I can't film it there, again it's very, very noisy, but you can see Wharf Cottage. It still plainly says Wharf Cottage as a sign. It's now divided into 2 residences, but that was the Wharf Cottage on the Leominster Canal here in Herefordshire, and this is where the coal which came down to Mamble would have been unloaded from, well, I don't know what actually, I don't know whether they were narrowboats, probably tugboats I would imagine. The canal really wasn't big enough for the narrowboats that we've seen on the other canals across the West Country and the West Midlands. Been unloaded here, put into a horse and cart, and then taken down by road into Leominster town centre. In 1800, the first sod of earth was cut at Stourport on Severn to make the way for one of 17 locks that were proposed to connect this canal to the River Severn there. But however, there was no more digging, just one spade in the ground. Work completely stopped. The canal was £25,000 in debt. There was a third Act of Parliament to raise more money to complete the project between Kington and Stourport, but it failed to raise any money. And by the 1820s, after hardly any traffic, all traffic was moved between Mamble and the wharf, as I said, at Leominster, it was decided to fill the entire canal route in, block off the tunnels and use it as a tramway. But that plan never materialised either. In 1855, after the canal had lied idle for several years and not transporting any of the coal from Mamble towards Leominster, they were in negotiations with railway companies to take it over, like we've seen previously with the Gloucester-Hereford line and the line between Gloucester to Ledbury, which was taken over by the Herefordshire and Gloucestershire Canal Company. But here, after the 3 years, in 1858, part of the line, particularly around the Tenbury Wells area, was converted from a canal bed to a railway track bed. And the southern portal of Putnam Field Tunnel just lies down there in that field. There's no right of way across that field though, and it lies just in that clump of trees there, just below the line where you can see the track to the left of the screen, and it curves round the woodland there, and the portal of it is just below. But I believe it looks very, very similar to the one we've just seen earlier in today's video. So with Clee Hill behind me, just lying over the border into Shropshire, that's it for today from here in Herefordshire, and earlier on the video from Worcestershire too, looking at the remains of part 2 of the Leominster Canal. I do apologise for not being able to bring you South Met Tunnel. It has got under 2 or 3 names, that tunnel, over the years. Sometimes it's called South Net, South Met, and there was a previous name to that as well. But alas, its secrets still lie there, by that lake, hidden by all those nettles. So feel free to explore it for yourself. Probably best not to do it on a wet day though, and do hope you find that. And if you do, please share it to my Facebook group, West Country Wanderings. But we did have some success today. We found 2 separate canal tunnels and 2 separate canal portals, as well as, I think the highlight, I think you'll agree, was the magnificent aqueduct, although sad to see it in such a poor condition these days. Wonder what will be its fate. That's it for now, West Country Wanderings. Take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. All the best now. Bye bye.